We'd like to take this time to thank our, just kidding, we're going to try that again.
Actually, Peter, can you start that copy can you inject the sentence "in a world where" before you start it?
In a world where Social Media Point TV is sponsored by Voxel.net, the hybrid scalable hosting experts. Be sure to circle Voxel on Google Plus by going to voxl.co/G+.
Internet gold.
Sweet.
In a world where cloud computing is king, one company, one hosting provider gives you the best service you could ever expect. Check out Voxel.net here on Google Plus.
Very good. I like that. So, everyone, welcome.
So, if you guys are watching online and you haven't figured out, Voxel.net is now the official sponsor of the first episode here of Social Media Point TV. So, back to you, Seth.
All right. Yeah. If you guys shared your streams, are you able to?
I just did, actually. Yep.
Awesome. Robert, did you?
Yes.
So, all right. Let's just keep an eye on it. Maybe we'll have people actually care for the first episode. All right, so I'm here. Let's see if anyone's. Let me pull it up here. And we'll get started. So the idea of this show is going to be that we're going to talk about social media, the cloud, technology, all kinds of fun stuff like that. And we're lucky to be sponsored by Voxel. They're a great company based in New York, Singapore, Amsterdam, Santa Clara. They're all over the world, but the main headquarters is in New York and Lower Manhattan. So they're a great hosting company, and they are our sponsors. So this is our beta show number 1. So, guys, let's talk about something.
Okay. I read a couple of articles today, and one was passed over to me from Ermine actually last night. Peter and Steph, both of you guys. It's the first one that I put up in chat. It's pretty interesting. What it says is that in scoring social media and social media's reach and its import, that Google Plus all of a sudden just popped to the top of the list. Surprise, surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happened in the last couple of weeks is that the world at large seems to be waking up to what this space is and what it does. So that means that maybe, possibly, people are starting to understand the power of the space. So that says something, that we are here right now and that we are doing what we're doing. Doing a vlog, blog, post, whatever you want to call this.
Yeah.
But that we're here discussing this at this point and this juncture in time, I think is very interesting and powerful. And the second article I read today was an article that talks about massive disruptions in traditional software builders like Microsoft and some of these other big companies, and how upstarts are looking to take over spaces and make profound changes. I've been working on a couple of projects in this space, and one of the things that strikes me about that article that I just read is that they showcased a company that provides software as service, which obviously Voxel is an incredible company to back up some stuff like that. So if you were going to build a startup, if you're going to build a SaaS implementation, or if you were going to go after the big guys, or you were going to do something at scale, or you're looking at mobile apps, it's kind of interesting and fortuitous that we are, one, in a space that everyone's talking about in the last 2 weeks on Google+, and two, that Voxel is the stuff that's under the hood of not just the things that you're familiar with, but a lot of companies out there that are changing the shape of technology and where the web is going. So just a couple of things I bumped in today when I was doing a little light reading.
So Peter and Robert, what do you think about this Facebook and the organ donation status update? Have you guys done it yet? Are you guys organ donors?
Well, you know, that's interesting that you asked that, Seth. I was reading an article on CNN about that earlier this morning. And again, it's one of those things. It's being characterized by some as a publicity stunt, some as, you know, a very good action. But we get to a point where I think we're kind of confusing the end user. When Mark Zuckerberg comes out with a program that says, hey, if you want to become an organ donor, just share it on Facebook. But wait a minute, you still have to register with the state. You have to go to your DMV. You have to sign a contract that allows them to harvest your organs afterwards. Now, it's one thing once you sign that contract to take a picture at the DMV, take a picture of a little heart on your driver's license and say, hey, everybody, I'm an organ donor. This is awesome. This saves lives. You should do it too. You can save up to, 7 or 8 people's lives, after you're gone. What are they good for? But, again, we're finding something where Zuckerberg tells the world, hey, you should be an organ donor. Tell everybody on Facebook you're an organ donor. And I think we're going to get a lot of these end users, a lot of laymen that are just going to post on Facebook, oh, I want to give my organs away. Okay, well, that's great, but that's not actionable. You need to actually carry that out, go to your DMV, sign the paperwork, and actually become an organ donor.
You can actually do it online.
Well, there's one more step, too, Peter, that you're missing. You also have to die.
You do have to die. You do have to die. That's
But
correct.
I just also read an article that, like Farmville, Facebook's going to be releasing another game called Organ Donor, and they might start harvesting organs before you die. So I'm not gonna sign up on Facebook to donate my organs because I'm afraid you might.
What's also creepy is if you go to your status and of your timeline and you go to life events, you have work and education, which is like new job, retirement, new school, study abroad, work, volunteer, military service, other life events, family relationships. So you can first met this person, so on and so forth. New child. That's kind of neat. Home and living, move, bought a home, home improvement, so on and so forth. Because everyone who's been watching Peter for a while there knows that he's got a different background now because he's moved closer to Nashville. So that might be something he would want to do here, new roommate or something like that. Peter moved.
You moved?
Move.
Oh, wow.
Moved. I'm moving up.
Yeah.
Moving up.
You go up. But
By
here's
the way,
thing
guys, I just want to let you know, this evening I am enjoying an incredibly delicious and refreshing glass of Voxel. To raise my glass of Voxel to you this evening.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Voxel
Exactly.
juice. He's on the Voxel juice.
Oh, boy. There you go.
Good stuff.
So, Seth, I think
what's interesting is that under health and wellness, they have organ donation, overcame an illness, quit a habit, new eating habits, weight loss, glasses, contacts, other, broken bone. I broke my bone on this date and time. This is when sharing gets a little too personal, and maybe you should not, maybe the organ donor is okay to do, but I quit a habit, I quit smoking. Do you really want the insurance company to have that access that fast, saying, well, you admitted on Facebook that you were a smoker, and yet you told us you weren't a smoker? There's certain sharing things that I feel like you should be careful with. That's
I don't
one of
think
them.
people realize how much of their life is laid out to the public and to people who want to find things about them in social media. People take for granted that they're sharing with people they know versus people who they don't know. I looked at some software last week. I was given sort of a backdoor tour of a piece of software that searches all social media platforms for particular keywords or sentiments and can dive into any given event or sort of tipping point in certain kinds of strategies. And it's incredible what it can find and how it can organize it and how it can build an action tree. There's so many things in social media, and on one side of it's a little Orwellian and scary, but on the other side of it, it opens a door to, I think, incredible business opportunities to build consensus or to reach new markets or to talk to new audiences. And not to plug Voxel, but if you were a company that was seeking to do something like that, Voxel has a great product that you can build a platform on like that at scale, and that's really it's something I've been following for a few months now, and it's pretty interesting. And I think you were going to see some very disruptive things happen. Facebook will become MySpace unless they continue to evolve in a good direction. I'm not sure that, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the timeline. I'm still kind of getting used to it. I know with a bunch of my clients that I've been working with, we've been telling them that fill out when the company was started, when your son joined the company. Put something. I'm still trying to figure out when I add certain people as friends on Facebook, all of a sudden I get notices for everything they post, and I haven't put them in a separate category. All I did was add them as a friend, and now I get a notice every time they speak.
There's a trick to that. There's a trick where you can actually put them into a certain folder like close friends, and your main feed's going to be worthless. But then you can go to your close friends category, and you can see who really matters to you.
Them as you know what? When I did the friend request, that's what it was. So you do the friend request, you're supposed to check how you know them, whether an acquaintance or a friend or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you just put them in the general list, and you're watching the general list. It's all about circles, lists.
Status then, so it stops. Because every time I log into Facebook, I have a ton of notices, and I'm thinking people like me or something's going on, and all it is it's telling me that Eric Rice bolted something else on his Jeep.
Exactly. Sounds good. Exactly. But what I was saying was, like, for the companies I've been adding, like, trying to put some, embarrassing photos, not embarrassing photos, but like an old picture of them in a leisure suit at their convention or something. Put up fun photos that make them look human.
But Seth, you still wear leisure suits.
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah.
They're coming back. Don't worry. Keep going. Stay with it.
Exactly. But I mean, and also, what do you guys think of the Google Plus's? Actually, I can't keep track of who's copying who, but Google Plus's new profile. I'm loving how you can have, instead of 5 blocks, you can have a straight photo now, and then you have your big image up there. It's actually a place where I like to send people now.
But it's got to be 900 pixels by what, 140 or something like that?
No, like 190 something, 900 something by 180.
I've been a little too lazy to go and crop it, but. Peter, what do you have? Have you put something special up there, or?
I just took a picture I had of my mixing board. I'm actually working with a photographer over the next couple of weeks, and I'm kind of re-releasing my brand image through some new photographs, and kind of playing with that space, playing with the space I have on Facebook. It's interesting though, because I talked to somebody about Pinterest. Now Pinterest, you're not going to hear a bunch of guys talking about Pinterest often, but one thing Pinterest is doing. Take the monitor on your computer, take your widescreen TV, right? So we have all these images that are at this 16:9 aspect ratio. Well, guess what? Pinterest just turned the web sideways. Everything that you pin, you want to have in a vertical fashion instead of a horizontal fashion. So that's a challenge I'm dealing with too there, is on my blog, I'm trying to create graphics on my blog that are, in a portrait fashion instead of a standard landscape fashion. That way they're going to translate better on Pinterest. So that's a whole nother thing, is aspect ratio. They're not all going to be the same. They're going to be different. And are people designing content differently now to adapt to these aspect ratios?
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to do, because you got to kind of make sure that you are open to multiple different genres. I know one thing that I love Pinterest for is the infographic. I go on, and I admit I go to Pinterest for infographics. When I want to try and share an infographic on Google Plus, it's worthless, pretty much. It's tiny.
And one of the things I don't like about Google Plus right now is when you post a photo or an image, it puts black on either side, and sometimes I think it takes away from the image that you're trying to post. I wish they'd just leave the background white.
Well, yeah, once you put more white in there, there's going to be more of a white space backlash. So I'm actually liking the.
No, but when you put an image in there and you have a wide black border on either side, I think it really kills. I don't think Google gets design. Imagery as much as some of the other sites I've seen.
Well, they're no Apple. They're no Apple. That's one thing to be said, is that they're really, Jobs, Ives, they all get industrial design. They all get the design and whatnot. Microsoft is also guilty of this. That Windows 3.1 was atrocious, but so so was Windows 95. Gradually they're getting better looking.
It was Apple breaking, or whatever you want to call it.
Apple breaking, exactly. But as you look at, I like the design. I know some people didn't like the new design of the Google Plus. They thought they liked the other one better. I don't like that. I can't really control my stream as much with the plugins anymore. I used to have certain circles I'd have to click on to see, and they wouldn't come up on my stream.
Yep.
But I'm sure that the plugin developers out there will make a new plugin.
The only really thing that concerns me about the direction that Google's taking stuff is that with increased complexity, and I'm looking at our screen right now, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 buttons across the top, a couple buttons down here. Hang on a second, we have a crisis.
Little visitor here, yeah. And while he deals with his cute little son, let's continue the conversation. I'm liking the new Google Plus layout. Yeah, there's a lot of white space, but it's better than having blue space or green space or weird space. It's like it does somewhat adjust to the screen size a little bit. I do wish that they got in the habit of doing more responsive design, though, which would have been nice, where it resizes based on your screen size. But
Yeah, and I think we've heard from Vic, and we've heard from some other people that there are plans for that white space era. I was talking to somebody earlier. One of the things I was talking about to Robert and Eric Rice earlier today was about the amount of content that we see, and now that there's so many more people are becoming more active, they're sharing more content, there's a few people that I like to keep up with, and I'm just not seeing their content anymore without drilling down to their actual personal page. So I'm hoping that there's going to be a point where the algorithm will determine who I interact with the most and present me with some sort of a digest for those people, so I'm not missing out on the content and the content curators and creators that I really enjoy.
Exactly.
And I think that's what we're going to see plug in there, kind of in the same fashion that you see the updates streaming in the upper right-hand corner on Facebook.
Exactly. Actually, what's interesting is I know that Robert Scoble is actually taking a break from Google Plus. You know, he made it quite popular about that. But before, when everyone's like, I get too much Scoble, I get too much Scoble, I never got enough Scoble. I mean, I actually like Robert. I've interviewed him on previous podcasts I've done, and he's a great guy, you know, and I want to see his content. It never came up in my stream. I mean, yeah, I'm following probably 3,000 people, 18,000 or so are following me, but, you know, he never pops up. You know, now he's taking a break. He's not going to show up anymore. I mean, I don't see enough Pete in there or this Robert, you know. I have to go seek you guys out. Instead, I find out the other people that I'm following because I care about, but I'm not able to put them, like, I have to go through my circles and click on a certain circle to look at them. And there's one thing I am missing is that you're only allowed to have 2 circles at the top, you know.
The funny thing is, I sort of view the stream as the last generation of the web. To me, it's more like Facebook. And I couldn't tell you what the people that I consider to be sort of I'm closely related to in this space. If you pull up, you know, if you do an ad thing and you pull up all of the people on your if you want to invite someone to a hangout, that little thing that shows up, which by the way is very funny because Barack Obama shows up on my list of people that I'm closely related to, and I'm still trying to work that one out. Maybe he's stalking me. I don't know. But anyway.
You should have a lot, really. Yeah, I'm seeing him online there, too.
So the people that I hang out with or the people that I converse with the most in this space, like we are right now, I don't really seek out their streams to look and see what they're posting. I don't really interact with them at that level. So I don't very often comment. I sort of use my stream as kind of like I would Reddit. You know, I'll hop on there every once in a while and sort of zip through and see if there's anything interesting. I'm not very active in participation. And I think what's funny about that is that Peter and I, for a long time, were sort of tracking along with each other on follower counts. And I don't know if you want to call it lazy, but I haven't been as active in participating in the community. So I've sort of backed off on that a little bit. I still do hangouts and do business stuff on here, but I use it more as a professional tool as opposed to a social tool. And I think you can see the difference in the participation in follower counts that have changed over that. It's been, in the last 2 months? Mine have been pretty stagnant, and Peter's have increased substantially. By the way, congratulations, Peter, on your ranking over on Circle Count. I saw you up there at the top of the list on people in engagement measurement.
Yeah, well, he definitely engages. One thing
Voxel to you would say cheers.
Exactly, they're name dropping. One thing that really bugs me, and I did a quick little Voxel social media tip, which we're going to put them out on a regular basis. Once we get Robert in his lower third, we'll have him start doing some little tips here and there. Just sharing ideas and rants and whatnot. We'll put them out as like little, what do we call this show? Social media tips. Actually, that's why I have the wrong lower third on right now. Actually, come to think of it, but that's what they're going to be. Something like social media tips. My fault. Like I said, this is a beta show, and because it's a beta show, I got to do something like this. Oops, that's not what I meant to do either. Anyhow, we'll leave social media tips up there because I don't know what I'm doing right. I just noticed I had the wrong lower third up. There's Robert's lower third. But anyhow, he is sponsored by Voxel, but I did have a lower third that was appropriate. Like good old Peter's right there. But anyhow, my main beef that I talked about in the social media tips was that people are, there we go, are often complaining about, you know, I can't find my friends on here. I can't find my friends. I can't interact with the people I interact with on Facebook. And what I have to say to them is that it's different. It's different. It's not Facebook. And when a lot of people have, you know, Guy Kawasaki, the most said this in his book, you know, what is it? What the Plus? It's a great book. Pick it up on Amazon today. He says that it's not about finding the people you already know. It's finding people who share similar interests, passions. You know, I mean, we've all, you know, I've met Peter, and you know, I met Robert on here. We all have similar interests. Now we're doing a podcast together. I mean,
let's not crack that nut up in too far, because you know that's one of my sticky points about this space is that while we seem to find each other somehow, some way, I still feel like there's a lot of somebodies out there somewhere that we're missing connections with because we're unable to
Find them.
relate ourselves, and we're sort of relying on blind, dumb luck. And the community is still relatively small within the Hangout space, which is sort of my central point of focus in this area. And then there's key connecting people. So there's mavens and connectors in this space, and I think three of us, we probably know most of the connectors. There's probably a few outliers in Android land or some other. I ran into a really interesting group of people yesterday that are a guy that wrote Wiki, like the underlying software for Wikipedia and all that Wiki stuff.
Wikimedia, yeah.
Wiki, whatever it is. So he started a new group, and they're charging along in doing some really hardcore programming things along those lines, and I had a very nice conversation with them. But it would be nice to be able to put up a laundry list of things that I'm searching for, topics or events. So I have a lot of interest in various kinds of things in the way the web evolves. And one of those things is in geographic information or document management or human relationship based on statistical analysis. I mean, different kinds of goofy things. It'd be great to be able to somehow iterate that about, say, hey, I'm looking for these kinds of people, or I'm looking for this sort of information, and to be able to more actively find those kinds of people. And I don't really feel like that's here yet. Peter?
Yeah, I agree. It's I think it's going to get there, but I think it's something completely different. I don't think Google Plus is going to die. Google has way too much money to spend. And honestly, that actually leads perfectly into they're starting to integrate YouTube into Google Plus. Will Wheaton, Wesley Crusher from Star Trek: The Next Generation, Star Trek, right? Not Star Wars, Star Trek, yeah. Had a major rant on his Tumblr blog, where he used some expletives, but he pretty much doesn't like that on certain people are getting beta tested on YouTube, where if you're not signed in, you have to sign in to +1 instead of thumbs up or thumbs down. Because what I was listening to over at the Twit Network, the Reports Network, Twit.tv, a shout out to him. They were talking about this today on This Week in Google, about how Google's trying to integrate Google Plus into everything. And some people don't like it, some people like it. But the thing is that when you think about it, what is a plus or thumbs up or thumbs down really doing for anyone anywhere else on the web besides just on the second largest search engine on the web, which is YouTube? Whereas if they can integrate it with the +1 and they can make that grow more, like with the like button, I feel like that might actually work.
Wait, time out.
Yeah, wait, time out. Yeah.
Yes.
YouTube is the second largest search engine on the web?
Yes, it is.
No!
Yes, it is. I can pull up the articles. It is.
Oh, come on.
People search on YouTube before they look at Bing.
What about Jeeves?
Jeeves? Jeeves is dead.
Yeah, Jeeves passed away. The funeral.
Now it's Ask, and they
the funeral was held at 127.0.0.1.
I found a really, really cool search thing that whatever topic you search for, it removes the first million results. It gives you the million and first, and then goes down. And it's kind of cool because it gets rid of all the spam, obviously. But it goes deeper on a search term. So I can find that. Keep talking.
Exactly. If you search, is YouTube the second largest search engine? It is. It's supposed to be owned by Google, but it's just going to say people are going to freak out at the littlest thing. They freak out at Facebook all the time. And every time it's wrong. They do something different. People don't like change, and Google hasn't changed. YouTube is the last bastion of non-Google-ness that's been finally being touched, and people are like, no. I mean, I get it. Will Wheaton is doing this stuff on Geek and Sundry with Felicia Day, and they need to make sure that the number, and Google's now messing around with that, but it's still, you're playing in Google's playground. You have to be aware of that. Like, we're doing this on a Google Hangout right now. I mean, are we going to eventually make a, socialmediapoint.tv website? Hopefully, but right now, when you go to socialmediapoint.tv, it goes right to our Google Plus page, which is faster to do. So we're playing in their playground, so we are at the mercy of their whims. And one thing I have to admit that Google Plus has made Google a lot more accessible. All of us have talked to Googlers on a regular basis, but they're using Google Plus as a way to reach out to the community. I mean, remember before Google Plus, you couldn't talk to Google. Google would do something and screw up, and then you ran and rave, and they wouldn't hear you. Now they're using this as a listening tool, and you can actually talk to the behemoth, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, 2 years ago I was working on a project doing some parallel processing stuff with some cell broadband processors on the PS3s. We were building some clusters out of them for doing some supercomputing projects. And I was looking into the Liquid Galaxy and got really enamored with what that does. And Liquid Galaxy is a Google project that will allow you to take some large screen televisions, link them together, and basically build a Willy Wonka elevator out of it. But you need some pretty heavy horsepower behind it to drive it. And I was going to put it together as a kit for high schools to explore computing, telecommunications, and some other supercomputing ventures. And I tried to get in touch with a guy at Google that was in charge of it, and just couldn't get past the wall. I gave up after a day or so. I'm not, it wasn't that big of a deal. But within a couple of days of being on Google, I found this guy, sent him a message, he got right back to me, and there was a connection instantly. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm loving it. What about you, Pete?
I found that website. It's called millionshort.com, and millionshort.com is kind of cool because it strips off the first 1 million search results on anything that you search for. So it gives you sort of the bottom of the web.
That's pretty cool. Like what's down there, like Viagra?
But it also gives you sort of real kind of interesting in the belly results. Instead of because everything that's up the top is peppered with SEO. People that are slick about it and people that are pushing things or agendas and whatnot and making effort. Whereas the bottom of the web is sort of just the stuff that's down there. And it's kind of interesting. You bump into some really interesting material down there that you wouldn't normally see.
Wow. What's kind of funny is I see one of my shows down there.
It means you're in the belly of the web, man. You're down. You're
at the top. It's very interesting. Well, this is really neat. Wait, how's this at the bottom when I'm at the top? That's weird.
You're at the top of the bottom.
I'm at the top of the bottom. I'm at the top of the top of this keyword too. It's very interesting. So definitely. I would like to shout out to a celebrity in our midst. Chris Perillo has been watching the show a little bit. So I invited him in. But what's that?
How's he doing? I haven't talked to him in a while.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see if Chris wants to pop in and say hello.
I think he might be creating content. Just a guess. Just a guess.
Well, we'll invite him and see what's going on here. Chris. What's he not creating content?
What happens when you type Chris Perillo into Million Short? I bet he probably has the first 2 million hits are probably all.
I think he's got the top million and the bottom million, but nothing in between.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel it is. Yeah.
Because I think his content's either completely on point or totally off base.
Exactly.
He's got the bread on the internet sandwich, top and the bottom.
Yeah,
exactly. We're stuck in between. Yeah.
No cheese. We're the
cheese. No cheese. Just bread. Just carbs. So
Seth, you said something that kind of irritated me.
Already?
I keep hearing it in the mainstream media.
Hi, my name's Seth Goldstein.
That was the first thing. No, the one thing you said was, I don't think they're going to kill Google+. And, you hear this from the Wall Street Journal, you hear this on TV, you hear it on the print, online, everywhere. You hear these quote-unquote experts that are, digital marketing experts or whatever, talking about, well, is Google going to keep going with this? You have to remember, how many products does Google actually have their name in front of? You want to talk about Wave? You want to talk about Buzz? You want to talk about, just name any product, product, and show me a product that just says Google+. This isn't a separate product. This is a plus on top of the existing product. And as soon as people realize that this isn't what you see, and I keep telling people this, as soon as you get to appreciate that this is going to be, it's not yet, but more than plus.google.com, more than the stream, more than what you just see here, what you're looking at now, unless you're watching this. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is the integration of Google's products. This is going to be Google. This is going to be your desktop.
Yeah, you could call it Google Fusion because finally all these different products that they've always had the shotgun approach. We're going to try 15 different things, and whichever one sticks, that's what we're going to run with. Well, now they have all these different products that they're running with, but they needed a common thread. They needed a common fabric to be weaved into, and that's what this space is here. Now, people say that there isn't room for two social networks. There isn't room for this. We need 1 million social networks. The way I look at it, Seth and Robert, is this way. Google Plus as a social network, if you want to look at it that way, is like Hartsfield-Jackson Airport in Atlanta, the busiest airport in the world. People walking by each other in 5 separate terminals. They may never even meet each other if they're always in different terminals. However, it's the busiest place with the most people, so it's the highest percentage of opportunity to create a lasting connection. Now, the danger of that is it's hit and miss. The probability of you seeing the same person 2 or 3 times is a lot lower. Now, I think of Facebook like TGI Fridays, right? Because TGI Fridays is a recognizable brand. You can see it everywhere, right? Tons of people go to TGI Fridays. But TGI Fridays never has more than 300 people in it, right? Even though there may be thousands of them, hundreds of them within the United States and across the world, the opportunity for you to see anyone outside of the 1,000 or 2,000 people that visit that specific location is very low, even though within the network of all the different operations they have, all the different restaurants, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people patronizing their restaurants. But when you think of Google+, like Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta, the busiest airport in the world, there's always tons and tons of people there, and there's a good opportunity no matter where you're traveling, especially if you use Delta Airlines or flying internationally into the U.S., especially the southeastern U.S., you're going to be flying through that airport and you're going to have the opportunity to meet someone. Now, you're not going to hang out in that airport all the time, but when you are there, you're going to be amongst all these different people and have all these different opportunities to make these different connections. And I think there's room for mom and pops networks as well. I mean, there's a lot of great local restaurants. There's a big local restaurant movement here in Nashville. I know there is in other cities as well. And those are important. People appreciate them. But that's where you get the regular customers that come in on a consistent basis. So think of that like Path. Think of that as the things with limited sharing, that you're only sharing with a specific audience. So if you want to talk about different interests and different things, I think the field is wide open. There could be hundreds of thousands of social networks. As long as they serve a particular niche and a particular audience, they're doing a great job. Now, can there be...
I disagree to a certain extent, and here's why.
Controversy, yes.
How many of the social networks, or just go web companies, we won't even say social networks, let's just say web companies in general. I have never seen, well, I know they do tweet ups and things like that, so there is some physical gathering like a hurl, right? But I don't see that in Facebook. I mean, people, if they know each other, obviously they get together, but they already knew each other to start with. I think we're seeing a phenomenon inside of, well, Redditors get together sometimes too, in small
Can we pause that real fast? A hurl is a hangout in real life. Hang out in real life for those people who are watching this on YouTube and not watching this and they're not familiar with Google+.
Yeah, so I mean, Redditors get together, but usually in dark basements.
Careful.
4chan people get together, and then you get the Occupy Wall Street. But what I'm saying is, I think we have a new phenomenon here, or they've reached a tipping point where people are getting together in hurls, and Peter, you've experienced this in a very profound way. And they're also going to the Google offices, and they're getting tours, and they're walking around, and they're talking about those experiences. This is a little culty. I mean, it's starting to feel a little like Apple.
It is, and people are passionate about it too. People are very passionate about Google+, and they're like,
yes.
"How dare you? How dare you? How dare you?"
Great segue into the Samsung Galaxy S3.
It's
Good
Apple.
job there.
Exactly.
Good job there.
But before we segue, let's give another shout out to Voxel. Pete, want to read the copy?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to take this time to thank our fantastic sponsor, Voxel.net. Voxel is a go-to partner for scaling demanding web applications. With hosting facilities around the world, Voxel provides the industry's only truly hybrid infrastructure solution, allowing clients to seamlessly mix and match dedicated Vox servers, virtual Vox cloud servers, and scalable storage across their deployment. With Voxel's on-demand hosting platform and self-service technologies, you can provision physical servers and cloud instances online within minutes. All Voxel services are backed by a 100% uptime SLA, and get this, 24/7, 365, zero bureaucracy support. Everything about Voxel is fast. A recent Codex's cloud performance review had VoxCloud Amsterdam nudging out VoxCloud New York in average response time over other cloud services including Amazon, Rackspace, and Windows Azure. Deploying a dedicated server happens in minutes, plus you get the benefit of a global network with locations in Amsterdam, Santa Clara, New York, and Singapore. And of course, with all their servers, you get to enjoy their impressive mobile, desktop, and web apps, tap into their API, get the benefits of their free global CDN or content distribution network, and now they've joined forces with Internet, so you get to leverage their high-performance IP network. So to celebrate all this goodness, Voxel is offering for a very, very limited time, and you're only going to hear this from us, an amazing discount offer for their dedicated servers and for the true geeks. You're looking at a Sandy Bridge Xeon E3 1230 with 16 gigabytes of RAM and two 1 terabyte disks. We have a special link to access this offer, so to get yourselves there, you'll head to voxel.co/49. It's going to be in the show notes, don't worry, to secure these latest deals. Of course, we encourage you to add Voxel.net to Google+, Facebook, and Twitter at Voxel.net to stay up on the latest news and deals. And I can say myself, probably Robert and Seth, we're very happy to be partners with them.
Yeah, totally.
I'm great.
And that's voxel.co/GPLUS. That's not G then the plus sign. It's G plus spelled out because this is for any confusion. So, yeah. So I'm talking about the Samsung Galaxy. What is it? Galaxy S3.
Yeah. So we got into this thing about it's being a little cultish. But let's talk about cultish tribes. Let's like peel back to Seth Godin's idea of marketing. And peel back to the Apple fan base. We're talking about a company that couldn't grasp a market share, and now they're totally owning the tablet world. They're trying to own the cell phone world. Their biggest direct competitor is trying to create a tribe of its own. And I got to tell you, it's interesting to watch because one thing, as we've seen time and time again, Robert, is Apple does not understand social at all. They understand very sexy product design, and they understand a very allegiant market base. But it's interesting to see Google get in and say, you know what, we're going to come up with even better technology. Now, one way that's being attacked is some of the advertisements.
The problem with social is that if you engage in social in any meaningful way, it lowers the barrier that the mystique that Apple builds around it, which is the elitism.
Yeah, but you got that with Samsung now.
Yeah. But Samsung's coming along and they're playing into the hey, let's get real market, right? You're a smart guy, but you're actually smart. But you don't need alligator on your shirt to prove that you're. And listen to me, I sound like an idiot. I'm sitting here with a G on my sweatshirt here. But they're saying you don't need a label on you to be that. Be real. Use Samsung.
But see, I look at Samsung kind of like Nissan, right? So you can get a Nissan Versa for technically under $10,000. It's not going to have any air conditioning or anything other than
bare bones,
a four-cylinder engine. But the point is, at one point, you could get a Nissan Versa for under $10,000. Well, Nissan also manages the Infiniti brand, and you can buy a luxury sedan for over $50,000. So look at it that way. Samsung does have a different range of product offerings, but they do offer the Cadillac of Android phones. I mean, they are always the front runner with the must-have Android phone, and I think Samsung's hardware is the biggest direct competitor to any time Apple releases a new phone.
Oh, yeah, especially with their they're going to drive right towards they're bypassing Apple, and they're going right for the Apple fanboys with their commercials. Like, oh, what's that? It's a Galaxy Nexus, or oh, what's that? It's the Galaxy Note.
Actually, I think they are targeting the Apple fanboys. I think they're targeting people who scorn the Apple fanboys, which is a decent market segment. I think.
They're scorning it. They're making us laugh at Apple, and then they're saying, hey, Samsung's where we want to go because they get why we don't like Apple fanboys. Now, I'm not saying I don't like Apple fanboys. They are slightly annoying, but
So one of the funny things about Google and this in particular is that as a technologist, and I've been involved in technology for 25 years now, and very complicated technology at that. When I use my technology, I like to use things that are simple. One of the things that was most charming about Google, and still is, if you go to google.com, and what's less charming about them now is they put all these little goofy things in there that start moving around the screen. But what was very charming about them is they had a simple idea, and they said, you put a search term in, we'll return a result very quickly, and it's simple and clean. But if you click on anything behind that, you get these infinite lists of projects that Google's delving into. And Google Plus is starting to become sort of like that. There's so many buttons, and I was starting to say this earlier when my kids broke in. The number of choices and buttons that exist in a Hangout are becoming more complicated, which starts to raise the barrier to entry to normal people to get in here and use this stuff. If you need a PhD to operate it, that's not good. And the reason I bring this up is when I think about phones or I think about technology that I use, and I design the network. So I literally design the physical networks that people use in these things. I use engineering phones. I can dig in and do all kinds of very coolio things. But when I use the technology, I don't want complicated. And my technology and the things that I use to communicate or the things that I use as devices, least common denominator, simple is best. And one of the things that Apple gets is they get UI, UX, they get user design, they get simplicity. They always have. All these other companies tend to stack features and make things complicated, and if they're not intuitive, you can put a bigger screen on it, but if it's a pain in the butt to use, I'm not going there.
Exactly. So, it's going to be, there's a little bit of each. I mean, you can be really simple and to the point where sometimes the Apple products I think are really confusing. I think some points they get so intuitive that if you're like me, I think too much. Therefore, I'm going to overthink an Apple product. I think
they've released a pretty dumb product too. I mean, they've got some products that are just I don't even get them.
Well, here's one word about them not getting social. Ping. Where'd that go? Nowhere. I think is it even still in iTunes? Ping.
No.
Yeah, I mean, Apple doesn't get social media, but doesn't need to. They're the Rolls Royce of technology. Everyone's like, ooh. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit I'm not the biggest fan of Apple and because of their fanboys and their elitism and all that stuff. And the price, the price is kind of, I can get more of a PC, and that's one of the posts I did earlier this year that went viral. What I can get for a PC was, versus what I can get for a comparable Mac. The price is astronomically different. But the thing is
that post was kind of your your coming out party on Google Plus. That went viral.
Yeah, so I still get updates on that.
What, like a week or something? I mean,
that thing still is going right now.
You rode that one from Philly to New Jersey.
Yeah, that thing went viral. That thing, I think I went to 3,000 views on that thing. It's insane. But I'll put a link to that post in the show notes. But it pretty much just showed top of line PC for like $1,300, $1,400, the comparable Mac for like $3,000. Which would you choose? And the thing is, and there's a whole huge debate. Mac lovers, PC lovers. I don't know if they really exist, but PC people that like use PCs and don't like Macs. But the thing is, what I'm saying is that I'll be the first one to admit a MacBook Pro is probably one of the sexiest pieces of equipment I've ever seen. You look at a MacBook Air, and it's wow. I mean, I want one, but I won't get one because the whole idea of it being overpriced, or maybe actually accurately priced, not subsidized like the other ones are. But I feel like there's there's a stigma of the Apple fanboy saying like, I'm elitist because I use a Mac. I go through a PC every 2 years. And maybe if I was on a Mac, I wouldn't go through a PC.
Everything Apple produces comes at a premium price. I don't think they have anything that's value priced. Peter, can you think of anything value priced?
They have the box, the Mac Mini, 800.
So let's talk about value. Let's go back to the cell phones. Go back to cell phones for a second.
Back to cell phones. All right,
cell phones are interesting, right? So when you go into a cell phone contract, they're usually for 2 years. Do you know why they're for 2 years? Because when you purchase a new cell phone or a new contract, you're buying into a concession, okay? So if you ever look at what the actual retail value of a cell phone is, that's a marketable figure. They would make money if they sold it at the retail price that would recover the cost. If you remember when Xbox first came out, it was very well known that the equipment was actually selling under the cost in the hopes that you would buy enough games where the licensing cost of those games would make up for their loss in hardware. So the console itself was a loss leader. So when you sign up for a cell phone plan and you start a new contract, you're getting that phone at a very deep discount because what's happening, a portion of your cell phone bill is paying for the concession on the phone. The phone company is using the money you're paying every month to pay back the manufacturer for the phone, right? So that works very well for cell phones, and that's how every 2 years people are able to afford a new cell phone because they're effectively paying it off in credit with interest to the manufacturer.
They pay the people who assemble those phones something like 50 cents a day. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but still the market price. But still the market price is like for our Samsung Galaxy Nexus right now. If you get the GSM one unlocked on the Google Play Store, it's like $3-something. That even that's being subsidized by Google's in some way. It's like $700 for one of these things. Now the thing is, in Europe, and a lot of our European viewers, a lot of our European viewers will also say that look, they don't get subsidized phones. They buy a phone at full price. therefore they have lower price plans. And they have better choices. They have more competition over there because you're not tied into the network. Because you can switch between SIM cards as much as you want. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Spray in
What
the
do you guys
comments.
pay a month? What do you guys pay a month for your service?
With everything, probably 110, 120. But I've also
Peter?
been grandfathered into a lot of things.
What kind of phone do you use?
I use a Samsung Galaxy Next. I mean, I probably use like 4 gigs a month. I mean, I'm a power user in this thing. I mean, I use it for everything. I'm probably Verizon's worst nightmare. But I have unlimited because they grandfathered me in. What about you, Peter?
Yeah, I'm on Sprint's network, so I pay $110 a month, and I have unlimited everything except for the daytime mobile to landline minutes that I never use anyway. So,
what phone do you rock?
I'm actually on the original Samsung Epic 4G.
Oh,
I have the extended battery on it, which is a godsend. I actually get through the whole day without intraday charging.
Yeah, I have batteries galore. Because the Galaxy Nexus battery. One thing I don't like about this phone is it sucks. But other than that, the phone's great. Robert, what do you rock?
iPhone, 3G, $30 a month on T-Mobile.
There you go. But with T-Mobile, how do you get on T-Mobile? I thought they can't afford the iPhone.
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, a little fun.
Little tickle.
Little tickle. I got you. Here's the thing also. When you think about, there was a segue there and I completely lost my thought. So, we were talking about Samsung cell phones.
Well, wait a minute. Talk about Segway for a minute. Let's segue into Segway. Does anybody remember back in '99 or was it 2000 where Steve Wozniak rolled on to the set of Tech TV with a Segway and said this was going to change the way everybody...
Yeah, I remember that. That's Steve Wozniak, though. I mean, Steve.
Well, no, it was on the Today Show. The guy that designed that thing was prophesizing this was going to change the way that people communicate.
That guy also drove off a cliff while texting while segwaying. He drove off a cliff and killed himself.
Yeah, well, they got all these guys to look at this stuff before it came out, and they all came out and said, we've just seen something that's going to change the world and revolutionize everything. Peter, why do you think a Segway has become not only just a footnote but a joke in transportation? What was the failure there?
Well, the failure there was the obesity epidemic. We come to a point in our culture where it's socially unacceptable to take shortcuts because we realize that at this point in our culture, this is the worst time of our nation's health and history, and it's only getting worse. So if you add this taboo device that takes away the one thing we need, which is bipedal exercise, I mean, you would be ostracized instantly for it.
And do you know why we're all fat?
McDonald's.
You know who's
because we're sitting at the computer all day, right, Robert?
Well, that's a contributing factor, but that's why we have beer guts. But do you know who? There's one person that's responsible for America being fat. His name's Earl Butz. Earl Butz was the agricultural secretary underneath Nixon, and he was the first guy that implemented the corn subsidies. And the corn subsidies made corn incredibly cheap. And what it did was it changed what we spend as Americans.
Syrup, yeah.
Our parents spent approximately 27% of their gross income on food. Most of the world does. If you live in Europe, you pay much higher food prices than we do here. Anywhere else in the world, you pay higher food prices, a higher percentage of your overall income.
Everything's corn.
What happened was that corn subsidy created corn syrup and some other products that come off of that and lowered food costs across the board. And what that, in effect, did was it gave our economy a bump that loosened up 12 to 15% of our gross intake in our family incomes.
But also our belts.
And that money, besides us getting fat, but that money, that loose money, created the revolution in free spending money or discretionary income that became cable, network television, and luxury items like cell phones. So the reason that we can spend $120 a month on cell phones and the reason that that's become part of something that was tangible within our culture is because of a guy named Earl Butz, which is the same reason that we're all fat.
Thank you, Earl Butz. And isn't that kind of ironic? His last name is Butz.
He was actually a very, very bright man, and what they did was what had an incredible effect. I mean, the whole, the prosperity of the Reagan era came out of the idea that we had this disposable income, and a lot of that and then we sort of pushed it the wrong direction with some leverage things. But anyway, so that's good old.
Your history lesson for today.
Yeah, there's your history. I've got lots of those.
Yeah, we'll hire more of them in the next beta episode, beta number 2.
But you know what? I'd like to talk about maybe next time is I'd really like to talk about some of the things that you can build with the Voxel platform, and in particular, I'd like to talk about some of the new things that are coming along in innovation, and to tie it back into cell phones. One of the disruptors, that second article that I posted for you guys today, one of the disruptors that they're seeing is that they're seeing that upstarts that are utilizing mobile platforms and that are launching scalable networks that are based in companies where you can go out to a Voxel and you say, okay, I'm going to start with a couple of servers, that's what we're going to build, and because you have a major player like Voxel and all those connections behind you, you can become instantly scalable. Mm-hmm. And those kinds of companies and those kinds of innovations that start as mobile platforms, not the companies that are already big and go back to a mobile platform, but the ones that start with simple ideas, and simple ideas about, like, how do we connect people, or how do we connect doctors to each other, or how do we connect different kinds of groups together. I think there's an enormous opportunity right here in Google Plus to facilitate and connect people that have similar interests. I mean, we've talked about that a little bit in the beginning, but I think it'd be fun to talk about how a company like Voxel can support those innovative ideas. Oh, one last thing before I forget.
Yes.
Did you guys see VC Office Hours? Did you guys see that? So
no, what's that?
Google is releasing VC Office Hours, and Bradley mentioned this.
Bradley Horowitz, that'd be one of the heads of Google Plus.
No, I read that he just legally changed his name to Bradley, like Madonna. He dropped the Horowitz. He's just Bradley.
Wah, wah, wah.
Anyway, so I posted the link in there. It's VC Office Hours, and Google's going to sponsor some Silicon Valley VC guys to come in and do some roundtable talks on what's going on. I really want to get in one of those talks because the first question I want to ask them is, hey guys, we've been hanging out here for about 10 months waiting for this thing to get to a percolation point where VC's ready to jump in here and make some stuff happen. Can you tell me when that's going to be? Because I think I've seen a lot of great ideas here, and I've seen a lot of people start some very interesting projects.
Like Hangout Canopy is one.
Hangout Canopy is a good example. There was, the Hangout Academy that didn't quite come to fruition, but there's Tim Moore's working on something along those lines.
Yeah, Mohammed Mazur does a lot of neat stuff.
Yep, he does a lot of very interesting things that are demonstration projects, and if you plug some of those things together, Circle Count's done some interesting stuff. I've worked on a couple of interesting projects doing some mapping and some other kinds of measurement types of things. There's some really interesting things coming along, and I really would like to see how they feel about what that looks like. And a company like Voxel would be a cornerstone or would be the brick and mortar that you would build your company around.
Exactly.
Peter, you got any interesting projects you're
I'm going to sneak up on you with them. Yeah. Right now I'm definitely exploring a new partnership with Voxel. You're going to see a lot from me about cloud computing. Today I kind of did my first segue in, kind of showing the audience exactly what cloud computing is. You're using it right now if you're watching this on YouTube or Google+. But there's going to be a lot of interesting content about cloud computing. And then on the side, now that I'm closer to the city here in Nashville, be interviewing a lot of artists and showing you how musicians and some well-known musicians are using technology in their music. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
How close to Nashville are you now?
4 blocks from the Capitol. 20 minutes. Yeah.
Wow.
4 blocks takes you 20 minutes?
No. I was out actually right by Andrew Jackson's old home, the Hermitage, and moved out of the suburb, and just moved just down the street from the Capitol building.
So on that note, thank you again for tuning into our beta show number 1. I'd like to thank my wonderful esteemed co-hosts, Robert Anderson and Peter G. McDermott. It's Peter G. McDermott. Don't forget about the G, because you will find other people if you don't put the G in. So that's his brand. Also check out Voxel, voxel.co/GPLUS. Circle them on Google+. Also, don't forget to go to voxel.co/49 to see their latest deals. They are good till, I think, May 11th, my birthday. So be sure to check them out, and we'll hopefully bring you this show once a week. And I'm sure that the other 2 rascals over here will be putting out some interesting content, Voxel branded as well, in the near future as well. So check out for that as well.